There comes a point in life when you realize that not everyone around you is meant to understand your story. And the truth is, they don't have to. You see, we live in a world where people are quick to listen, but very slow to truly comprehend. They may nod their heads when you speak, but most of the time, they are either distracted by their own struggles or too focused on judging you through the lens of their limited perspective. When you hand over your pain to people who are not equipped to carry it, you don't just risk being misunderstood. You risk being diminished. Think about it. When was the last time you shared something deeply personal, hoping for compassion, but instead received silence, indifference, or worse, criticism? It stings because in that moment you expected empathy, but what you got was a reminder that not everyone has the capacity to walk in your shoes. And that's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their limitations. Human beings are wired differently. Some people can hear your pain and hold it with tenderness, but many simply cannot. They might compare it to their own experience. They might dismiss it because it doesn't fit their definition of real problems. Or they might even use it against you in a moment of anger. So when you share every problem, every wound, every scar with the wrong person, you are essentially placing a fragile piece of your soul in hands that may not value it. It's important to understand this. Being silent about your struggles is not about suppressing your emotions. It's about choosing wisely where to place your trust. Your silence can be sacred. Your struggles can be private lessons that shape you without needing public approval. Because at the end of the day, you are the only one who truly feels the weight of your battles. No one else can feel the exact heaviness of your sleepless nights or the chaos of your inner storms. So why expect them to fully understand? Psychologically, when we share our problems too freely, we unconsciously give away power. We start depending on external validation to feel better, waiting for someone else to say, yes, your pain is real. But you don't need a stamp of approval for your suffering. Your pain is valid because you feel it. And the sooner you accept that not everyone can or will understand, the freer you become from the chains of disappointment. Philosophically, think about how the great thinkers and leaders of history carried their burdens. They did not go around telling everyone about their hardships. They transformed them into wisdom, into art, into movements. Their silence was not weakness. It was strength disguised as patience. They allowed their struggles to refine them, not define them in the eyes of others. So when you stop expecting people to understand you, something beautiful happens. You begin to understand yourself more deeply. You start to listen to your own needs without waiting for someone else's validation. You build resilience because you no longer depend on others to carry what was always meant for you to carry. And here's the irony when you no longer desperately seek to be understood, that's when the right people enter your life. The ones who don't need long explanations, who don't judge, who don't compare, those rare souls who simply get you. But you only recognize them once you've learned the strength of silence and self-reliance. In every crowd, there will be people who misunderstand your silence, who interpret your quietness as weakness, who think you are distant because you don't complain. Let them think what they will. You don't owe the world an explanation for every battle you're fighting. Your life is not a courtroom where you have to prove your suffering to a jury. It's your journey, and only you know the path you are walking. So the next time you feel the urge to pour your heart out to someone who hasn't earned that privilege, pause and ask yourself, will this person truly hold my pain with care, or will they simply carry it for a moment and then drop it carelessly? If the answer isn't clear, then maybe the silence is your safest choice. Because the truth is, not everyone will understand you. And that's okay. You don't need to be understood by the masses. You only need to be understood by yourself. And in that understanding, you'll find a strength that no amount of sympathy could ever give you. So protect your story, guard your struggles. Share them only with those rare few who have proven they can hold them with grace. And for the rest, let your silence speak louder than words. Closing line, not everyone will understand your journey, but that was never their task. Their misunderstanding does not weaken you. It frees you to walk your path with dignity, knowing that the one who truly needs to understand your struggle is already within you. One of the most difficult lessons in life is realizing that not everyone who listens to your problems is listening out of care. Sometimes, they are listening out of curiosity, and sometimes they are listening out of convenience. And the danger in sharing your weaknesses too freely is that some people will hold on to them, not as a reminder of your humanity, but as ammunition to use against you when the moment suits them. We live in a world where trust is fragile. The same words you spoke in vulnerability, the same tears you shed in faith, can be twisted into weapons. Maybe you've experienced it already, confiding in someone during your lowest moment, only to hear your story repeated in whispers behind your back, or worse, thrown in your face during an argument. It hurts not because your pain was exposed, but because it was betrayed, and this is why we must be careful. Not everyone who appears kind is kind. Not everyone who offers to listen is equipped to hold your truth. There are people who feed on weakness. For them, knowing your insecurities gives them a sense of power. The knowledge of your struggles becomes their leverage. They might not use it immediately, but it lingers with them, waiting for an opportunity, an argument, a misunderstanding, a clash, where suddenly, your deepest wound becomes their sharpest blade. Psychologically, this happens because some individuals thrive on control. When they know your weak points, they feel superior, as if your openness placed you beneath them. And that's why telling everyone your problems doesn't free you. It chains you. You place your emotional safety in the hands of people who may not deserve it. Philosophically, think about it, true strength is often silent. A tree does not announce the cracks in its bark to the forest. It continues to grow, silently repairing itself, weathering storms without seeking approval from the trees around it. In the same way, when you carry yourself with quiet dignity, you deny others the chance to exploit your fragility. You acknowledge your pain, but you do not place it on display for those who would turn it into spectacle. And this does not mean you should live a life of isolation. It does not mean you should mistrust everyone. What it means is that discernment is necessary. Vulnerability is sacred, and it should only be entrusted to those who have proven they will protect it. When you share your struggles with people who love you, they don't see weakness. They see strength in your honesty. But when you share them with people who are waiting for a chance to measure your flaws, they will never forget where you stumbled. Many times, people who misuse your weaknesses are the ones who feel small themselves. They highlight your flaws because they cannot face their own. They diminish your story because acknowledging it would mean confronting their own pain. And so they cling to your vulnerability, not to understand it, but to shield themselves from theirs. But here's the empowering truth. Your weakness is not really weakness, it is human. And no one has the right to use your humanity against you. They might try, but their attempt to weaponize your struggles only reveals their character, not yours. What defines you is not the problem you shared, but the strength with which you rise above it. So instead of handing over your scars to everyone you meet, learn to honor them in silence. Carry them as private symbols of resilience. The less you expose your battles to those who don't deserve them, the less power they have over you. You begin to notice that the fewer people who know your struggles, the lighter your soul feels, because you no longer live in fear of your own story being misused. Think of the greatest inspirations in history. They didn't go around confessing every wound to the crowd. They lived through pain they healed, and then they chose carefully how to share their story, not as weakness, but as a message of strength. They did not allow their pain to be turned into gossip. They turned it into wisdom. And maybe that is what you must do too. Transform the parts of you that others would exploit into lessons they cannot take away. Hold your pain close, nurture it until it becomes wisdom, and then release it on your own terms when you are ready, when it cannot be weaponized anymore. That way you remain in control of your story, and no one can ever use it against you. So the next time you feel tempted to open up to just anyone, pause and remember your vulnerability is precious. Not everyone deserves access to it. Protect it as you would protect a treasure. Share it only with those who have proven they can hold it with care, not with those who would turn it into a tool of manipulation. Closing line your weakness is not their weapon unless you hand it to them. Guard it, own it, and transform it, so that even if the world tries to use it against you, it will already have become your greatest source of strength. Life has a strange way of giving us problems not to break us, but to shape us. And yet, most of us treat problems as enemies, as curses, as things that stand in the way of our happiness. But the truth is, problems are teachers. They are messengers. They arrive uninvited. They disrupt our plans. They test our patience. But if we choose to look deeper, we realize they also carry the seeds of our growth. You see, when you stop talking endlessly about your problems and start working through them, something profound happens. Your pain begins to transform into power. Think about the hardest moment in your life. Maybe it was heartbreak, maybe it was failure, maybe it was betrayal. At that time, it felt like the end. But now, looking back, can you not see how much strength you gained because of it? Can you not recognize that it taught you resilience, patience, or self-respect in ways that comfort and ease never could? Problems are uncomfortable, yes, but they are also the fire that forges you. Just like gold must pass through heat to shine, the human spirit must pass through challenges to discover its strength. If you spend your energy only narrating the problem, you remain stuck in it. But when you shift your focus toward learning from it, growing from it, you step into your power. Psychologically, this shift is crucial. The mind is wired to focus on what we feed it. If you feed it endless complaints, it becomes addicted to helplessness. But if you feed it solutions, resilience, and gratitude, it becomes a weapon of strength. You start to notice opportunities where others see obstacles. You start to rise where others fall. And philosophically, isn't that the essence of life itself? Every storm is temporary. Every problem has an expiry date. But the lessons you take from them are eternal. The great philosophers and leaders of history were not people who lived problem-free lives. They were people who transformed their struggles into wisdom. Their pain became their platform, their weakness became their weapon, their scars became their story. So when I say turn problems into power, I don't mean deny your pain. I don't mean smile when your heart is breaking. What I mean is honor your pain enough to make it purposeful. Don't let it stop at suffering. Let it travel further. Let it evolve into growth. When you do that, your story no longer becomes one of victimhood. It becomes one of victory. And here's the beauty. Once you rise above your problem, you give others permission to rise above theirs. When you share your scars, not as wounds but as proof of healing, you become a living example of resilience. You show the world that problems don't define you, they refine you. Think of it this way, the most inspiring people are not the ones who lived perfect lives. They are the ones who endured imperfection, who walked through darkness and came out carrying light. And that is available to you as well. Your problem today may feel unbearable, but it can become your story of strength tomorrow, if you allow it. The question is, will you keep rehearsing the pain, or will you start rehearsing the strength? Will you keep telling people your problem, or will you start showing them how you transformed it? Because problems repeated remain problems, but problems reflected upon become lessons. And lessons, when lived fully, become power. You see, nobody remembers the people who complained, but everybody remembers the people who overcame. That is the choice you face every time life tests you. You can either remain a prisoner of your pain, or you can become a pioneer of resilience. So the next time a problem comes your way, pause and ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? How can I grow from this? How can I turn this into strength? And when you find the answers, you will realize that every problem you once cursed was actually a disguised blessing. Because problems are not there to crush you, they are there to carve you off. They strip away your illusions, they force you to discover your depth, and they remind you that your spirit is far greater than your circumstances. Closing line, don't just carry your problems, convert them. Let your pain become your purpose, let your struggle become your strength, and let your scars tell the world not how you suffered, but how you survived and triumphed.